All right, good evening, everybody. How's everyone doing? I'm assuming this is the last session before the awards. So, firstly, I'm very, very happy to be here. When Sukanya actually called me to moderate this session, I was very happy to have this opportunity to be here, but equally actually learn from the, as you said, the brightest of the minds that we have on the stage, and really, hear their perspectives. Now, when I was in the morning, thinking about, okay, I'm coming here, how do I dress? I'm speaking to the Gen Zs, and should I wear a proper suit or should I wear something else? And this is the best I could do, and to be there, with them, both in spirit and really listen and understand and hear their perspective is what this session is all about. So what we're going to spend time is around, and actually it's a quite nice segue to the previous session that we just had, is around the future of work and the perspectives from our Generation Z, Gen Zs. Let's start with the basics first. If you look at what are Gen Zs? So Gen Z is a generation that's born between 1995 to 2012. And while I was researching a little bit for this session, I learned another generation. It's called Generation Alpha. Any guesses what Generation Alpha is? So Generation Alpha they're born between 2013 to 2025. So there's already a name for the new generation that's coming. And I don't know where's KSV. This time we're doing the session with the Gen Zs, maybe KSV next time. As the way the things are moving so fast, maybe in the next year, we could do a session with the Generation Alpha. But let's see, they'll be, I think, too young, yeah? They'll be 10, 11 years. So really, as I said, really happy to be here. Now, we'll make it a bit of an interactive session. And when I say interactive session is, we'll first start with the questions for all of you. And see who can maybe shout out the answer to it. As you know, there are a lot of Gen Z lingos, which I had no clue getting in here, but a great team behind me has put this together. So let me ask you a few of the lingos, and if you could maybe just raise your hand, shout out, what it means. Let's start there. So, STAN, S-T-A-N. Any guesses what STAN stands for? STAN stands for. Come on, some guesses, throw out some ideas. So, I think we know the audience. That's very clear. But STAN stands for, it's a combination of stalker and fan. So if you say somebody, that, if you stan someone, it means you're obsessed in a nice way. So that's STAN. The next is, if you say to somebody, which is like no cap. No cap, C-A-P. No cap. Say it loudly. You're very close, actually. It's pretty cool. So no cap is, that you're being, you're not lying. You're being authentic about it. You're saying the truth. So no cap. That's the slang, the lingo that's used. Dead. D-E-D. Dead. It's actually the meaning of it is completely opposite to actually the way it sounds. So dead stands for, it's used to describe something humorous. And the last one is bussin'. There's a bussin', right?
Bussin'.
Bussin'. Any guesses for bussin'? Come on, throw out something. So bussin' is, it's a bit of a quirky word, I think. It's when you taste something nice, when you taste something delicious, you say bussin'. So when maybe, tonight when you go home, having dinner tonight at home or tomorrow, you can maybe use the words, for those who have Gen Zs or Alpha generation at home. I'm sure they'll recognize. I'm going to try this. I've got an 8-year-old son. I'm definitely going to try with him and see at least what he knows or maybe what I know. So listen, before we get started on the serious stuff, I'll maybe start with a bit of a rapid fire with our wonderful panelist here, and it's linked to a bit about the the future of work in terms of what their thoughts are. But it's going to be a rapid fire, and then we get into a bit more into the serious discussion. So, in no particular order, you can just start, shout out, and go with it. So the first one is a 4-day week the future of work?
Yeah, I think many countries are trying to go towards that, and in some cultures it's possible, but maybe not in others. It depends kind of on which industry you're a part of, what is your role to play. So definitely the flexibility should be there, but is it an absolute? I'm not really sure about that.
Yeah, for me it is a no, because already Friday is still a no work day, a little no work day for us. So if we come to 4 day, then it will be Thursday no work. So I think it's a no for me.
Okay, considering the state of India, so here people are very competitive, right? So someone who is able to do something in a 5-day work week is given a 4-day work week to complete it. There will be a particular someone who can be able to complete it in a 4-day work week, and they will get a maybe preferable higher hand over that someone who could have actually completed it. And I feel that's not really fair. So for me, it's a no.
Okay, listen, I'm not going to dwell upon it because it's a rapid fire. Maybe a question bit more personal, which is a cause that you're passionate about or that you volunteer in IRL. And you may want to explain what IRL is as
In
well.
real life.
Say it loudly.
In real life.
Gotcha.
So,
Yeah. So in real life, I love teaching. So whenever I have time, I go to schools, nearby schools or some organizations which do that, and I teach and I tell them how important education is. So I do that.
for me, it will be fitness
Okay.
and anything related to sports. I try to gather people around, and my friends also. I try to motivate them to come to a gym or come around and play something, like any small game like cricket or football or anything like a table tennis, something like that, just to create a physical activity in their daily routines. For me, it will be that.
For me, it's more like it's fitness, it's gaming, it's Formula One, and music, of course. I the usual fan favorites, Linkin Park, etc. But yeah, that's for me.
Super. And your favorite social media platform?
Instagram.
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 Yep, Instagram, the most commonly accessible one
Right.
right now.
And maybe if I could ask one of you, why?
Well, the reels.
There's?
The reels.
Right.
They just keep you hooked on for like hours. For me, it's 30 minutes at a stretch. Then I feel bad. Then again, I do it. So, yeah.
All right, listen, the last one on the rapid fire. One leader, one leader you stand up to. And maybe a leader can be a Gen Z leader as well.
For me, it's Sudha Murthy, that I look up to her. But when I talk about someone I want to become, I usually love to compete with myself. What I was yesterday, I would like to be better than what I was yesterday. So that's what I believe in.
For me, it's
Sure.
Kunal Shah, the founder of Cred. The way he has envisioned the entire company and the way its ads are being very popular nowadays. Like you see Rahul Dravid shouting Indiranagar Ka Don Hu and all of that. So that is all catching Gen Z these days. So for me, it's
For me, I'll dive back into my interest in sports with Formula One. So for me, it would have to be Toto Wolff. He's the current principal for Mercedes and also the CEO. So his journey has been quite interesting to see as a leader. He's been invested in it and he's taken it to new heights than before.
Interesting. Interesting. I didn't expect that the principal to come in versus the rider, but thank you for that. So listen, now moving to a little bit on serious in terms of the entire area of the future of work, right? And how the work is going to change the whole generational shift, social shift, technological shifts, many forces at play that's out there. And there's a lot of research out there as well. And not to throw many numbers at everybody, but few of the things that I was reading is 40% of the people are looking for flexibility as one of the top motivators before they decide to join any particular organization. Another interesting fact, which actually day before yesterday I came across, was about 900 million people are projected, 900 million people are projected to be freelancers, yeah, by end of 2023. And you put that in perspective, with population of US, Mexico, Indonesia, Brazil, it's more than that. So the whole concept of work, the whole concept of the future of work, I think it's evolving, it's changing. We're all experiencing and going through that as well. Maybe, I think, question for you, what is your definition of future of work? And what would be your thoughts and advice that how can we create a win-win solution for both employers and the employees? So in no particular order, whoever wants to start.
I can start. So according to me, I think in the future, there is not going to be a definition of a role. Like this role will do this, not definition of a position. I think, but it will be definition of work. What we do, what technology we are working on, and what we are trying to get out of it. It's the results that matter than what position I am. It does not matter more to us until and unless the work is satisfying and interesting. And I think there is going to be decentralization. It's not that one person has the power to do something, but it will be a teamwork where everybody has the freedom to equally contribute, where everybody is happy and has the freedom to do what they want. And it will be more of a teamwork than a central person doing something, and more of automation is what I feel.
Okay, I'll go next. Really good point on the decentralization of it, right? And not having one particular person per role. To me, I think definitely the future is hybrid, right? The future of work has to be hybrid because we have seen how it was before. And quite frankly, I don't think we want to go back to what it was, right? It has to be a combination of both. It has to be flexible. The workplace has to get more open. Communication should flow from both ways. Definitely people will be upskilling more than they are right now. Basically because of how disruption is happening in this world right now. But keeping it to teams, collaborating with each other across verticals, the collaboration will go forward, right? That'll give people more opportunities to grow, learn, and excel in their existing roles because the barriers will kind of come down, right? We've seen how working in silos doesn't really do anybody any good. And collaboration is one big aspect of it now.
Yeah, on the same terms, collaboration, co-creation, and as she mentioned, how teams, there'll be transparency between higher management and the new employees. There should not be any factors which are, when someone new comes in, he also wants to know how someone became a CEO. He also wants to do something really, really great in his life because there are 20-year-old CEOs out there. And there should be inclusivity. This is talked upon. There should be talk about mental health and all of that. So yeah.
So no, thank you. So I think the definition from a flexibility perspective, it's as you said, it starts with as simple as the time you're spending at the work, but more importantly, it's the transparency, it's the opportunities being available, being aware of it, and having an environment where those collaborations and conversations could take place, right? And again, I think, but if you're saying the hierarchies and those things, getting to more flattish organization, getting to more purposeful work in terms of what you want to do, and whatever you're doing, what does it mean for the organization as well? I think that those things is quite relevant. Now, at my workplace, and I work with Unilever. And when we speak with the Gen Z generation, there are a few things that come out pretty clearly. And if I look back, pretty clearly against, if I look at for me growing up, I think the tech savviness is for sure there. Social consciousness is another big one. I think on Gen Zs, I personally see that. Adaptability to embracing change is another one. And the change, we've all seen it, it's not a new thing, but the amount of change taking place and the magnitude of change taking place is accelerating as time goes by. You mentioned diversity, inclusion, sustainability. all those things are very close to heart, when you see, from a Gen Z perspective. And, I've worked with Unilever, and, we produce goods, consumer goods for our consumers, and sustainability is a very important element, especially the Gen Z generation we are selling it to, because they want to know, for a particular product, where is the source you're buying from, what's happening with the plastic, so on and so forth. So the whole social consciousness is quite important. So maybe a bit question for you in terms of, what's your approach at the broadest sense, if I ask you, what's your approach to careers and life in general? Yeah? And how do you balance that professional and personal goals? How do you think about the whole work-life balance, mental health space? So that's, broadly, what do you think about that? The work, the life, professional, personal goals, mental health, work-life integration. Thoughts?
Well, mental health has always been there. It's been talked about now. It hasn't been that prevalently talked earlier. Now, for me personally, I have segregated my things in such a way that when I'm working, I'll give my 100%. And if I am not feeling like working, I'll just not do it. I won't overdo myself and just burn out. And luckily, I'm in an organization which supports that. So for me, it just boils down to simple rules like making some amendments in your daily habits, waking up early, going back to bed early, and within that time, just cater everything. Give proper time to everything. Be it fitness, be it your work, be it family time, be it your friends' time, everything.
And if I'm not wrong, there's a lingo for that as well, right? There's a vacay mode or something like that, or is
Wait.
it not there?
Not for this,
No?
I guess.
Okay. Good try from my side.
For me, I think it's interlinked, personal and professional, right? It's very important to have a sustainable work-life balance. If you think about it, how our generations have passed through, right? For the first generation, it might have been putting food on the table. The second generation, it was more like taking care of their family and so on and so forth. For maybe our generation, it's more like fulfillment in the work. That what we're doing is fulfilling us at the end of the day. It's something we're proud of, something we can advocate for, and take that on, right? It's very important to know when to get back, recuperate, and get back stronger, right? And like Purneshwar said, it's very important that you're in a place, in a work culture that supports that in any way you need to. Because for everybody, support comes in a different way, right? So no two people might have the same solution for it. But nonetheless, it's very important that I work at a place which is cognizant about all of these facts, and it starts from the top, right? If you are going to be leading, you lead by example. That's always the best thing to do. So yeah.
Yeah, so adding on to the points, I think work-life balance is different for each individual. What is for me will not be for him. And I think the current hybrid model of working is really helping us do that. I can attend meeting for 4 hours, take a nap for an hour, again get back to work, provided I complete my work. That's the trust my company has on me and I provide for the company. So I think the hybrid model is really helping us have the work-life balance. And I think the current generation has this very impulsive power to tell no if they don't want to do something. I mean, they know the targets for the day. They know how much they can provide efficiently. If they think they can't do it in that day, they will tell no and they will concentrate on their personal life. It's not like, how can I tell a no to this work? We are not like that. We can't do, yes, we can't do it today, but we'll do it tomorrow. I think that attitude is helping most of us attain that work-life balance.
No, very well said. I think the point around, as you said, about being clear, communicate clearly, setting the right expectation, and that goes a long way. Even this sometimes small basic steps goes a long way. That you're clear about your well-being, you're clear about your boundaries. Equally, informing the other side as well. And but as you said, also that you need that empathy from the other side as well to ensure that it's well understood as well. So thanks for that. I'll switch a little bit gears on moving to a bit on the leadership side now. And if you fast forward 7 years, about a third of the workforce by 2030 is going to be made up of Gen Zs, right? And I'm sure there are. You mentioned as well. Who's your favorite leader, or who do you admire? Uh, what are the things that you guys look for in a leader? So maybe my question for you is how do you lead, and how do you like to be led? So give us as well tips and tricks that we all can take away as well to say, listen, these are things we can do. These are the changes we can make that would resonate, that would encourage, motivate the Gen Z generation. And I think it goes both ways, as I said, how you like to be led and how do you want to lead.
Yeah, for me, one important concept is I want my leader to listen to me. Very, very important. I might have hundreds of problems, but when I'm coming to you, I am coming within mind to share something to you so that you will listen and provide me a solution. And we'll be having that open mind to come and share. And we are also at a stage where we are ready to take that feedback from you. We are ready to listen from you too. So I think I will also be a leader who will listen and work accordingly. And I would also want my leader to listen to what I'm telling.
Yeah, so we as a Gen Z, we are very proactively speaking every time about every different issues out there. But maybe we don't know the real way of talking while we're talking to the seniors. If you want a hike, we'll directly speak about it or just not speak about it and resign. And that doesn't make any sense. We should know how to talk properly. And that's where a leader comes in. He should guide the Gen Z how you should know how to talk, how the things are supposed to be in a corporate world, and how can you better your interpersonal skills. And with that, the Gen Z will also develop his own interpersonal skills.
So for me, I think a leader, like I said before, a leader should lead by example, and it's very important for me that my leader is authentic, accountable. Extremely important is open communication, because the continuous feedback will also help me to grow as an individual. When I look at my leader, I definitely look for direction, and also maybe sometimes a pat on the back, if just to know that I'm doing the right thing, right? But also I don't want that to be sometimes over and above, like micromanagement, for example, because I would like to have that sense of ownership to be able to, so they trust me that if I do it, I do it the right way, in my own way. If I fail fast, but I get back and pick it up from there.
Good, thank you. So maybe I'll maybe nudge you guys a little bit more to get to a little bit more juicier answers. So I'm sure there are leaders, if you look at it, in life and organization you'll have, and you say, listen, great guy, great leader person, but not approachable, right? What if you had to give one piece of advice to that leader, what would that be?
I would say network with us and let us network with you. That's really important, because at least in my organization, we have the opportunity to network with most of our leaders. That's how we get to know how they've reached that position. I can sit here and I'll be like, okay, he's in that position, so he can do anything. But no, he cannot do anything. He has to do so many things in a right way for us also to do right things. So I think we should have the opportunity to talk to them, be it whoever it is, but they should have the accessibility to network with them. I think that's really important.
And Chethana, if you can just again nudge a little bit. So what's the best way to network with, say, a Gen Z? What's the best way to network?
Maybe stay up to the trend.
Okay, that's a tall ask. What else?
I don't know, start on a relatable topic maybe. I mean, I get it, some things might not be relatable, but there are quite a few things out there that is, maybe talk about the latest match or any new show or movie which has come out. Just to break the ice and kind of go at it. To be more like something like peers, not boss and junior relationship, but try to break that down and make it a bit more open.
Thank you. I think the piece around human connect, so it's connected at a human level, And I think, as you said, Chethana, as well, I think it's about listening as well. Many a times, I think, I don't know if it relates to you, many a times I have seen in the organization, in my place as well, we'll bring people with all the experience, right? Either freshers out of the college or people with experience. And we say, listen, bring your thoughts, bring your ideas, right? Because that's what we're bringing in from. We want to learn from you. And a few months fast forward, the person comes with ideas and say, hey, I've got this thought, I've got this idea, I want to do this differently. And then there's a bit of the monologue that goes, which is, let me tell you, 5 years ago, and the whole thing gets squashed many a times, right? So I think it's listening with an intent to, it's listening for actually listening. I'm not just hearing you out, I'm actually listening you. And being able to connect at a human level. I think those things, I agree with you, go really a far way in terms of building those connections. So listen, I'll move to the last section of this conversation, which is around skills. Now, I think everybody here, we all talk about skills in our organization, how relevant it is to upskill ourselves, our organizations, and one of the biggest challenges as well in the industry, in the organization, in terms of availability of skills in the future. It was, I think this was, I'm talking pre-pandemic. I was in one of this conversation on the future of work practice with one of the big fours. And many of the research has been done in this space, but one of the things which is quite interesting is, is if you look back few decades ago, one would go to a school, a college, work for 15, 20 years, apply that for the rest of the life. I'm kind of over-exaggerating to make a point. And the conversation there was, the person was bringing was return on investment on skills. In the past, one would go to a school, college, which if you look back 20 years ago, the cost-wise as well, it was much different than what it is today. You would apply that for the next 15 years, upskill yourself, and then next 15 years, 10 years, bit of the ride the wave as well. But nowadays, the lifespan of the skill is maximum 5 years. So, and the context that person was speaking was, that, listen, you'll be sending your kids to a school, a college in India and abroad, spending all the money, but just remember the return on investment for that is only 5 years. But that's how the things are changing, right? That's all the things are changing in terms of how the skills are becoming relevant and irrelevant as we speak. And for sure, I think, whatever we all are doing today, next few years down the line, we're not going to be doing the same thing. It goes for all of us. So I think my question maybe for you, because I'm sure you guys think about your own learning and development, right? And it's an important attribute for any individual to stay in an organization if you're getting an opportunity to learn and develop, right? So how do you think about your own learning and development, right? How do you actually think about your own, do you have and I'm sure the answer will be different for each one of you. Do you have a curriculum you design for yourself, or you say, listen, I'll do a new year resolution, I'm going to pick a particular area, skill for the year. So how do you think about your own skill and development? And the second is, what do organizations can do in the areas of, skills and development? More, my question is coming from, the content of it, but equally how it's delivered, which would resonate with the Gen Zs.
I think the concept of continuous learning is very much in all these Gen Z people. And if you ask me, I usually concentrate on the languages that I code for. So, for example, C++, the concepts that were there last year are not there this year. I mean, there are advanced concepts. So that's how we look at the current work we are doing. We'll try to learn the new technologies, new concepts, and things like that. And when we think about the company giving us the curriculum, I think for us, it's very important to understand what are the things that we should continuously learn, what are the things we should relearn or stop learning, because that exposure is very much needed to us. What I am learning, I do not know if that will be valid for the next 5 years. So that basic exposure and understanding about what has to be learned continuously, what has to be stopped learning or relearned is very important. And that's what the company should provide, is what I feel.
So continuous learning, as she mentioned, and you can't stay to a particular thing that you're doing for ages. You need to relearn, you need to unlearn. So that happens when you have a broad mindset. And we have been doing this since our class 12th also. We do simpler problems, then we move on to better problems ahead. So it happens the same here also. We are working on a similar technology, we go to a higher technology. And when that thing is done, you know that you are pretty much proficient in this, you go to a better skill set that can move you ahead in your career. And coming into the company's perspective, I expect that a company is also growing in terms of that, giving me scope to learn new things, as well as giving me that opportunity to present those new skills in front of them and doing something productive.
For me, learning is a continuous thing, right? A person who stops learning is essentially a person who stops in their tracks right there, right? So for me, it could be something that I'm unable to figure out. Maybe there's a concept I'm unaware of, or maybe it's a completely new skill that I can help to augment my own skill set. So I love learning in that manner. It could be a technical thing, or sometimes I could be learning how to cook a recipe. You know, it goes in all directions. So it's a skill. It's a culture in myself. I would like to imbibe constantly, not lose the touch on that. It could be learning from people. It could be learning from courses, etc., etc. Now, talking about organizations as a broader topic, of course, it's very important for the organizations to kind of drill down to the kind of skills they will need in the coming years, right? The return of investment point you were talking about, right? What skills are relevant today? What skills will be relevant tomorrow? If you look at the current situation today in the tech industry, generative AI is something that is disrupting, people's minds, their thoughts, what was possible, what is conceivable. So it's very important that we stay up to date on those aspects, and for companies to kind of hedge out on what will be relevant, what will be very in demand. And there are many opportunities to make that happen, right? You can have tech platforms where you can learn, you can gamify the whole thing, incentivize your employees. And when an employee sees that the company is more invested in it, it gives them more motivation to continuously improve and, kind of give it their best.
Right, and then, so if in your organizations, right, your head of learning comes to you, and they ask you, give me one piece of advice on how we could change or how we could adapt the learning that will resonate with Gen Zs, what would that be?
Something that is easily accessible, available everywhere, not just classroom trainings, books, materials, but it should be accessible to me whenever I want to read it, learn it. So I think that's more easier for us.
Which can be easily communicated, which can be communicated to me, and I can communicate to my fellow colleagues also.
Ease of access, ease of learning. Keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
Definitely having a plethora of programs to look at, because if an individual wants to pivot, they can with that. Also having subject matter experts kind of give that learnings to people, having interactive sessions. You learn a lot on the job, but of course, it's always good to have somebody who gives you that direction as well, right? Who's an expert in it.
Learning from experts, learning from leaders, right? Good, listen, thank you. Thank you for the candid, your answers. And maybe if I could request everybody, is Aninda, Chethana and Purneswar, maybe give them a standing ovation, So they've been very bold coming here. It's their first time. It's their first time here at the NASScom event. So a big thank you. And you guys did awesome. Well done. Thank you.
For more content on tech and leadership, subscribe to NASScom YouTube channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update.